sit behind a desk and know what's going on. You have to go into the stores. You have to know what it's like to work in the stores. And that's what made me more valuable than anything else, I think. And then, so I worked for White Rose for a bunch of years. And, then it was just time, and I went on, I joined a firm in the city, and essentially specialize in the supermarket business. And my customers, my clients are supermarket owners. I represent guys that own Pioneers and Net Food and Western Beef and Associated and all those type of customers. So one of the reasons why I'm telling you this whole long story is that it helps to be very focused on an industry. When you look at a job or a possibility, or you're pursuing a career, try to be as focused as you can on a particular industry. I know the economy is a terrible situation for people, whether they have advanced degrees or no degrees are terrible out there. But it really helps to be, even though at the end of the day you might accept something that you didn't think you were looking for, it really helps to be very focused and sort of narrow, your target into something that interests you and that you can be good at. And that sort of helped me, whether it's a good industry or not. The food business was kind of in my blood, and it was something that I just felt like I would always be in. And not that I can't be more successful, because everybody can be more successful. But,
so you holds camera bass?
and I don't know if you're in college or thinking about college or not in college, just going into the job market. I don't know as much as it matters that you do go. And I know people that went to local schools, the people that are much smarter than people that go to Harvard. It doesn't make a difference. Some of the best, Brooklyn Law School is a pretty good law school. It's not Harvard Law School. I know some extremely successful people that went to the Brooklyn Law School, went to other places. So I think, and the one thing that is important as you embark on this path is that, first of all, school makes you grow a lot more than just the education that you learn, or that you get. But you grow in a lot of ways, you mature in a lot of ways, and one of the most important things that you get out of school also is the people you meet and the relationships that you make. And you find that you create a network for yourself that you might be able to take advantage of when you're looking for a job, or just in general in life. You have friends that are in real estate, or friends that are whatever, in the supermarket business, whatever your aspirations are, the wider you can sort of cast your network, the better off you are. So one of the things that School News has done, and which I think is extremely valuable, and Bill Tingley always stresses, is the importance of communication. How you handle yourself in front of others, the appearance you make in front of others, but also, I think the importance of communication itself. In other words, meeting as many people as you can, because you never know who might have an opportunity for you, who might know somebody here or wherever. So, and also with respect to school, a lot of people I know, and myself included, when I was contemplating college, I was like, yeah, it's 4 years, that's like forever. I know it's hard to realize, like, I can say it now, I just turned 50. 4 years goes like that. And it goes very quickly. When I went to law school, I was like, how can I go back to law school after I was out for 6 years? I was past that. I was, like kind of in my late 20s at the time. And how do I just spend 3 more years after making, you know, some money with a job. How do I, that 3 years was over in 2 seconds. So, you know, it's really just a question of just trying to get you, you know, just do it. Just don't, just, it's the best thing you could do. It teaches you, well, just in addition, again, to the education, you ensure, and if you're fortunate enough to have the opportunity to go to grad school, that makes you, that gives you a trade that nobody can really take away from. People say that about lawyers, is, you know, you can always hang up a shingle and people come and, you know, and that's true. I mean, this economy is bad, and it's bad for lawyers also. Obviously, people don't have as much money to spend. I do transactional work with supermarkets, basically. So there's fewer stores that are selling. There's fewer of my owners that are buying the property that the supermarkets are on. There's less of that. But there is some of it. So, you know, there's something to be said for that. They can't take your degree away from you. And the training that you get in advanced, you know, an advanced degree, whether it's, you know, law school or something, is that I learned how to write like I never could write before. I don't care. You know, I went to NYU, it was supposed to be a great school. They didn't teach me how to write at all. I learned how to speak in front of people. I took classes at NYU for public speaking. They didn't teach me anything, really. So that's what I mean by like these big fancy schools are not necessarily the best places. But when you go to school, take advantage of, you know, of what they have to offer, and it really makes you a much more well-rounded person. Lawyers can make anywhere, I would say. I mean, for a starting lawyer now, probably, and again, the economy's not good, so I would say maybe, depending on the size of the firm, 40 to 50,000 a year. Some of them make, you know, if you start off at one of the big Wall Street type firms, you know, they start at 100,000 a year. And you progress, and you know, there's lawyers that make millions and millions of dollars. The problem with law is if you go that route, if you, in order to really get a job with one of these top firms that pay these huge dollars, is you pretty much have to be at the real top of your class, and you have to be willing to work like ridiculous hours. I'm not talking about like, you know, until 7 or 8 o'clock. I'm talking about like 70, 80 hours a week. So there's trade-offs for that. But there are other lawyers that are in private practice that, you know, can make several $100,000 a year. So it's, but it's hard. Like anything else, you have to hustle for business. You know, if you're the type of lawyer that, this gets back to the networking part of it, if you're the type of lawyer that just sits behind the desk and waits for business to come to them, you're not as valuable to a firm because you're not bringing in business. So just like any field that you're in, if it's sales or anything, if you hustle and bring business, you're more valuable and the more money you can make. Okay. You have a question?
I was gonna say like what do you do like at work?
What's my normal day like?
Yeah.
I basically get to my office and I try to make deals happen. Usually I sit down at my desk. You know, like everybody else, you know, I don't care if you're in school or at home, you know, you kind of have, I'm not saying you have to make a list for yourself, but you kind of have an idea what you're going to do that day, or some of the things you're going to do that day. Well, I can tell you that, you know, in the real world, a lot of times it doesn't happen that way. I could have a list of 10 things in my head that I know I have to do that day, and I don't get to any of them because you have clients calling. I'm not a trial lawyer, so I don't go to court. So we have people in my firm that are trial lawyers. They'll go to court and litigate, And there's, you know, one thing about law is there's a lot of different types of law to practice. One of my partners does nothing but matrimonial law, just does divorces all the time. One of my partners is called a white-collar criminal lawyer. He basically represents doctors who get in trouble for fraudulently billing insurance companies. And so not only are they financially in trouble, but their licenses are on the line. So that's what I mean. It's good to have like your little, you know, your little niche. But in a normal day, because I'm not a trial lawyer, I come into my office and I spend a lot of time on the phone. You know, although that's, you know, changing. You have more emails and texting and all that stuff, even in what I do. But I spend a lot of time on the phone and then negotiating agreements between my clients and somebody else. And sometimes, very rarely are they easy, you know. They used to be a little easier, but now they're a lot more complicated. I just had a deal this morning where I had a guy that was, I'm not going to get into detail about it, but I have a guy that wanted to buy a supermarket in New Jersey. And we were 99% of the way done, and then the landlord insisted on something at the last minute. And I told the landlord, forget it, my guy's not agreeing to that. And the deal is basically that made the whole deal fall through. So, you know, that's another thing you have to learn sometimes is you know, I have a feeling this particular deal, the landlord's going to end up giving in, and this particular deal is going to happen. But I had to sort of take it to the point where tell them forget it, it's off, before that, you know, and see if it comes back. So I spend my day doing that. I spend my day drafting agreements, even though, you know, you think they're all the same, they're really not. They're, you know, you use a template maybe but every deal is different. And that's something that it's boring. I don't like doing it, to be honest with you. But that's what work is. Sometimes work is boring, and that's, you know, that's another thing that people don't realize is that, you know, I don't care what you're doing, you know, work is boring sometimes. Hopefully you enjoy what you do, you know, and most of the time I do, but there's some aspects of it that I don't care what you're doing, you don't like, but it's part of what you do.
Was it hard to pass in the bar?
I would say that, yeah, it's getting a little warm here. If you want to plug that fan back in, you might cool it off a little bit. It's a little noisy. But the bar exam was, I would say it's a very hard exam, but the percentage of passing is very high. So the tough part about the bar